Hello, humans. It's Rob here with Not a Robot Podcast, DC Comics Review Show number 120. That's number 120. This is the world's greatest
Whoop,
comic
whoop.
show about the world's greatest superheroes, and with me always is Brandon
Hello, everybody.
and Josh.
One thing I hate about Santa Clara is all the goddamn vampires. Really? Neither one of you know that quote from Lost Boys?
No, honestly, I've never watched it.
Oh my god,
Me
you
neither.
poor unfortunate children.
I was gonna say Halloween's a little further past than where we are now.
Nonsense.
All right, so if you ever want to get in touch with us, you can send us an email to comics@notarobotpodcast.com, and you can get us on Twitter at notarobotcomics. And if you feel like supporting us, visit buymeacoffee.com/NAR podcasts. We also have our very own Discord server, and with some support, you can make your way into the server to talk all things geek with us and other fans. For today's books, we're looking at Batgirls number 12, Wonder Woman number 793, I Am Batman number 15, Superman Son of Kal-El number 17, Multiversity Teen Justice number 6, The New Golden Age number 1, Wildcats number 1, Batman Incorporated number 2, Batman vs. Robin number 3, and Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths number 6, as well as a few other books that somehow got off the presses this week. But before we get
what
into
a
that,
heavy week.
yeah, let's get into some news before we get into our heavy week. What's up with you guys? What's new?
Oh man, not a
Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot new that's been going on around here.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet all over
All
the
quiet
place.
on the
Same
Western
here.
Front. Been watching TV and movies lately. That's about all I've been doing.
Yeah. Watch anything interesting?
Uh, yes, the interview with the vampire TV show is freaking awesome.
I've heard good things about it.
It's like super good. I enjoyed the shit out of it. It's not like exactly like the books. That does take a lot of liberties with it, but it is makes for a very good story, man. I dig it, and it's going to be part of the whole Anne Rice vampires witches universe. It's all coming to what did I watch that on AMC? I think it's AMC. It's pretty damn good. Oh, and I just watched the Gabriel Iglesias stand up special, and oh Jesus, Fluffy is funny as always. You guys got to check that one out.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I gotta check that out. I did watch the new Hassan Minaj special, which is just as funny.
That's the one that I have lined up for tonight.
Right on.
Oh man, Brandon doesn't have time to watch TV,
Yeah, no, not too much these days.
especially not the other show that I just been watching. I caught the first 2 episodes of Titans.
Ooh.
Yeah, Mother Mayhem and who I am assuming is going to be Brother Blood are the villains.
Oh, for
I mean,
the new season, right?
Yes, Mother Mayhem appears to be one bad mamma jamma. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Hopefully it's good. It remains to be told yet. Although I will say Garth is finally able to has just finally started changing into different animals.
Only now? It's
Yeah.
season 4.
Yep.
Oh goodness. Wait, didn't he do that in like the first episode? Wasn't he was a tiger?
That's all he's been doing is tigers.
Oh,
That
goodness.
tiger. But now he's like changed into a giant ape and some other shit and fuck some shit up. Good stuff. Good stuff. We're not here to talk about TV. We're here to talk about comics. Any comic related news? before we get into this heavy week? Oh shit, there's some heavy news before we get into this heavy week of books, isn't there?
Only yeah, two small bits of news. Just a bit of sad news, but definitely important. I guess I shouldn't say small. It sucks that I have to I kind of have to keep talking about this, but it just keeps happening so often. But we unfortunately lost two more members of the comics community this past week. Actually, the first, Kevin O'Neill, who's, I mean, if you've ever read League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or
Right.
um, literally any of the the
So
classic 2000 AD strips, Nemesis the Warlock being a personal favorite of mine. But unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 65 earlier this week. I guess having a bout with cancer that I certainly didn't know about it. So it sounds like he was kind of keeping that private.
mhm.
And then the other one today, something that sort of we kind of already knew was coming, but unfortunately has now officially come to pass. Carlos Pacheco, at age 60, passed away earlier today. Also, someone who definitely needs no introduction, but had numerous works both at Marvel and DC. Although my personal favorite will always be Aerosmith with Kurt Busiek, and actually he just finished up the Aerosmith sequel about a couple months ago. So it's really sad that he's gone and won't be able to contribute more to the community. But also, it's sad because they're really amazing people, and it's always a really tragic loss. So starting with a bit of
Sad,
depressing news, but
sad
is what
for
it
us and
is.
sad for their families. Uh,
Yeah, that's a shame.
it is, but let's say hopefully we have some good news when it comes to our books. Speaking of books, what do we got?
I still had the mute button on. My mistake.
Okay,
Before
I'm
we get into that, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the local comic shops out there because without all you guys out there, we wouldn't be able to be doing this. It's kind of realistically the lifeblood of the industry. Um, Still, I'd say brick and mortar comic shops because it's not just selling the comics; it's also where you can meet fellow comic fans and have discussions and find new books and get interested in stuff. It's great going online and having the comics right there on your phone or your computer or tablet or whatever device you use it on. But it just doesn't have that same interpersonal feel. So
having those pages in your hand and the smell.
exact the smell, I mean, especially that
Yeah,
old paper, that smell. Um,
it's
just
like my
shout out
crack.
to all you guys. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Would you just say,
it
Brandon?
really
That is
is.
my that is my golden smell. That old newspaper print with the
Yeah,
dried up glue. Just give it a sniff. You can't get high off of it,
so
but
good.
it does have a
No,
very nostalgic smell.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I got my copy of Green Lantern. Which one was it? One of the Kyle Rayner books. It
Hmm.
had that classic smell to it, and Angela just gave me the weirdest look when I took the biggest whiff, just flipping through the pages.
There
But
It's a
it's
great
it's so
smell.
good.
takes out.
Yeah,
There is absolutely nothing weird about that whatsoever.
yeah. So yeah, I wanted to do that little shout out because I've seen a lot of news over the past few months of various shops, all over the place, just having some hard times getting broken into, things getting stolen. There was a shop somewhere I think in California got broken into twice this year. Uh, One
Which
time
is
the thieves took
ridiculous.
next to nothing, like they didn't know what they were going for. But the next time, some hefty priced items were stolen. It is just ridiculous. It's really sad to see. It even happened maybe 10, 15 years ago to my own LCS. But again, the thieves just took they took a bunch of trading cards and random comic books, but they're all like dollar bin stuff. They had no idea what they had in their hands. But it's still a hit to the
Uh,
store, right?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
a
And I
shame,
mean,
yeah.
not only are you a punk enough to steal from a mom and pop store, but you're punk enough to steal from one of the most struggling versions of a local business. That's fucked up, man. That's not cool at all. I have other words, but I'll remain civil.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's honestly just a shame to see that happen, but it does happen to a lot of stores, unfortunately. Various, like, if you own a shop, you're going to be a victim to thievery at some point. It's honestly just the way it goes. But it is just a shame to hear it happen so much to our LCS, because let's face it, with the rise of digital reading, it's becoming a dying industry, which I think is a damn shame. But so that's my shout out to you guys. Keep it up. We do appreciate all the work y'all do. It's always fun. I just hope the LCS by my work opens up soon, because it's been closed for renovations and moving locations for maybe the past 6 months. And I've been itching to just get in and look for old Green Lantern issues, but they're not even saying where they are. They're saying that the new location is somewhere in the intersection by my store, but they're not exactly saying where. But they're dropping picture hints on Instagram, and I'm looking at the picture. I'm trying to decipher where the hell this is. They've been doing it for the past 5-6 months. It's driving me crazy. I'm assuming that they just got the intersection wrong. It's going to be like 50 miles away.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, well. Hopefully soon. Okay, well. Where are we? Yeah, so that was news. Got anything else to talk about, or is that about it?
That's about it. Other than, damn it, I am gonna have to check my phone. I actually drove past a local comic book shop where I'm at, and I never knew about it. And it looks like it's been there for a really long time. So that just reminded me I have to get over there this weekend.
Right on.
If for nothing, then to what it feels like to stand in the long boxes for an hour while you thumb through shit that you might never buy.
Yeah.
Or walk away too much. $20. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's usually what happens
stack
to
of
me.
Books you gotta.
Or why not both?
Yeah. No, it's invariably for me. It's always like, I go in and I'm like, okay, I'm not buying anything, which is the first mistake, because you never walk into a comic store and say, I'm not going to buy anything. You already, by walking in, you've doomed yourself. And then you start looking at the dollar bins, the long boxes, and you're like, well, I could use this issue, and I didn't know they had that. Let me put that on the stack, and then it starts to build, and you walk out with like 30 fucking issues. You're like, damn it. I was trying not to spend money, and I spent money.
Yeah. I mean, that did happen to me. I spent maybe an hour and a half flipping through the numerous boxes, pulling out all sorts of Green Lantern issues, and I had to put down the stack of Guy Gardner Warrior copies I had because it was just getting too expensive.
Yeah, if you're ever in Los Angeles, everyone knows this store, but Golden Apple Comics is like notorious for this because they have such a great collection of dollar bin issues. And I would literally go in and just raid them like a badger. It's just like thumbing through them and then walk out with a stack, like spending way too much money there.
Is there anything in particular you look for, or you just like see what there is and pull something interesting?
I usually just see what there. I mean, it depends. Sometimes I go in with something in mind, but more often than not, it's usually just like, what's there? Oh, I could use this. I could also use this, and then it's like, 20 issues later.
I haven't read that one.
That's how I built out.
But I'll read this one and then figure out if I want to hunt the rest.
Yeah, that's how I built out a lot of my collections and runs. I mean, like for example, like I was at Golden Apple and I was like, oh, look at this, a Nightwing book by Pete Tomasi, and then I flipped through it and there was another one and another one and another one. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I didn't know there was a whole run here. Let me just go through it, and then I have like 15 issues, and that I had not planned to buy previously, but I'm like, well, I mean, hey, I like this team and I like the character and I never seen this run before, so let me just let me just bring this home with me and see what it's about, and the rest is history.
There you go.
Right.
It's that easy. You don't get that
Yeah.
from an online store. And that's what I'm talking about.
No.
It's
Yeah.
for me it's the
That is the
hunt.
fun.
Yep.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's the same for you. It's just
And then of
if you
course
It's
just
very
go in
much
walking
the
up
and
to
hunt.
the
Yeah.
you shop hop and you just look for that one book you're looking for. When you find it, it's so much nicer. And then you go back
Oh
and
yeah.
look for the next one.
yep.
Yeah.
And then
No,
of course
that's
there's
why. I
walking up
mean,
to the glass and wishing you had $200 for that figurine.
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, well, the funny thing
It was
is, like
only
when I am
75.
yeah when I am more flush with cash, I'm usually like, I don't really need anything, and I don't go shopping for comics. But when I'm less flush with cash, that's that's when you want more stuff, and you're like, shit, I can't. I gotta
Yep.
compromise here. I gotta drop some
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, I think we'll get into some honorable mentions. Josh, you want to tell us about what's going on this week there?
Honorable mentions. I've only got three this week. Blood Syndicate number 6 of 6 wrapped up the 6 issue introduction of season 1. It was really good for those of us who already knew what was going on with Blood Syndicate. They probably could have used another 6 issues to introduce people to the world of Blood Syndicate and maybe stretch this run out another 2 issues, make it more approachable for everybody. But hey, I can't do anything about that now. But I enjoyed it. Nice House on the Lake number 11 of 12. We are almost there, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Um, I can't wait for the next issue of this because it is super awesome. And Batman Urban Legends number 21. It's Urban Legends, man. It's the same old, which is not bad. Pretty good. Have a good time or reading it anyway. Also, I don't know if that should have been mentioned during the news or not, but because I'm not buying it, but the Death of Superman 30th anniversary special and a special of edition of Superman number 75 came out this week too. Like I said, I'm not picking it up, but for those diehard Superman fans, I suggest getting out there. It's not cheap, but it's not going to be around forever, at least not the first editions, and you know that's what you want.
Yeah, it's actually something I might go to my other LCS and pick up because I'm definitely interested in that one.
Don't do it. Don't do it. You can get a
Okay.
copy of Superman 75, the original copy, for cheaper. I know. I've done it.
Oh, it's not necessarily that issue I'm looking for. It's all the bonus stories that you get out that I'm more curious
Mm.
about. I think it's 4 brand new stories.
Hmm.
Oh, really? Interesting. I did not know that. I saw the anniversary special and I figured, oh, cool. There'll be a cool new cover, or a bunch of interior art or some shit. But there's 4 new stories included, huh?
Yeah, at least
Interesting.
from what I remember
I'll have to
about
I'll
the
have to
event.
look into this further.
Right on.
Yeah,
All
that
right,
was
with
it for the honorable mentions, man.
perfect. So yeah, very small list this week because we're going to talk about a lot of books today. So we're going to
So
get into that
many.
first off with some quick bites. We're going to start off with Batgirls number 12. I'm going to hand it over to Brandon.
Sure. I'm still not really sure what the length of this is supposed to be. You said it was supposed to be shorter
Super
than
short.
the
Yeah.
than the spotlights, which are shorter than the in-depth. So I was assuming it's like 3 sentences, which is pretty much what
Okay.
I have. The Batgirls take down Riddler and Mr. Fun's apartment, also take down Killer Moth. Batgirl checks in with the officer that she had met with in the previous issue, Calvin something, and we get more developments with Grace O'Halloran, who has her first encounter with Mr. Fun, as well as I guess fun little tease for a villain that will be coming up next. Our favorite Alice in Wonderland themed character, Mr. Jervis Tetch, aka the Mad Hatter. So
Mad Hatter.
that's really all I have. I mean, I feel
That's
like these were
really all
supposed to
that
be
there
pretty
was
short,
for.
so yeah.
Yeah, that's all there really was that happened in the comic book. I think that sufficed. I think it was like a really interesting way to route the issue. I like the way the Batgirls ended up officially, unofficially working with the police. The art is to each their own. I don't hate it anymore. I'm enjoying it. It doesn't bother me, and it was enjoyable enough. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I'm loving these hints to the future that they're dropping. I am solely in the camp. I think that I hope Cluemaster is alive because I really want to see another interaction between him and Stephanie. At least with the place she's at now as a hero, with Cass and Barbara, and see just where that could go. But I think that's just me. So I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Right on. I wonder what we're going to talk about next.
Yes. So Brandon, did you give thoughts on the score?
I did I? No.
I did.
If I did not, I can reiterate. Solid issue. Really didn't like the art in this one. It was very rough and kind of rushed, but enjoyable enough, story wise at least. And I don't know. I'm kind of ambivalent with the Clue Master. I'm kind of like, I feel like we've done that many times, and Steph has already kind of moved on from that. In fact, if you want to see what I think is the ultimate cathartic moment, read Brian Q. Miller's Batgirl run, sort of towards the end, where she has, I think, a really final definitive moment with her father. But I guess we'll see what happens next. But this one got a 7.5 for me.
Right on.
Hey, Brandon and I scored something the same. That's crazy.
I know, freaky.
Okay, so we're gonna go from Gotham all the way to not Themyscira, but someplace a little higher up, and that's in Wonder Woman number 793. This is brought to us from writers Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad, with pencils from Emanuela Lupacchino, inks from Wade Von Grawbadger, colors from Jordi Belair, letters from Pat Brousseau, and a beautiful cover from Yannick Paquette and Nathan Fairbairn. Very simply put, Diana has gone up to the Justice League Watchtower on the moon, where she is meeting none other than Superman and Batman for a little powwow meetup, see where you're at kind of deal. But they instead come across members of the Justice League who are not actually members of the Justice League. They're actually members of the Imperium, who may or may not be trying to attack the Earth. But after a brief fight and capture of the Imperium, find out that they're not actually trying to capture the Earth. They're just lost souls trying to find their way through the universe. So I thought it was a brief pause to the ongoing story to showcase the Trinity in an interesting little romp that may actually hold nothing to the future, but it was still fun to see. It was nice. Somehow still felt a little off with the voices and the characters, but I think when you have the Trinity together in a relaxed setting, they are always a little bit different than in the field, for example, or with anybody else. So I didn't hate. I actually rather enjoyed this one. 8 out of 10. Not perfect.
Wow.
It's okay.
All right, dude. The art is pretty good, but it's nothing to write home about. And this is a complete and total filler issue. The Imperium. I don't know if it's just me or if it's just because it's such a maybe a common used word in names, but is that a brand new thing? Because I feel like I've heard of it before.
I think they were, and I could be wrong, but I think they were the enemies in the first episode of Justice League. Because at least design-wise, they looked like it.
Okay. Right.
I forgot to check it out.
Maybe that's what it was. But the Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, all of them are voiced atypically, like completely fucking wrong. Wonder Woman talks to Batman and Superman like they barely know each other, but they make it a point to bring in all of the major current plots going on in the DC universe, so you know that it's in current timeline. And then after the whole fucking shebang, they have a group hug and ate Oreos. What the fuck did I read? This to me was absolute trash, man. I gave this a 3 out of 10. I was
They ate
so
Chocos,
mad.
not Oreos.
Whatever, same thing. Fucking group hug. I didn't think that they could do worse than DuckTales, and they did. They so did.
Hey, Brandon, how did you feel about it? Or did you?
I had fun with this one. I mean, it's always nice seeing the Trinity together. And I'm not against them having Chacos I don't know. It seems cute enough. I'm surprised they didn't have John there, but since that is his favorite. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, it was as you said, it was a fun romp, which is nice to kind of have that breather. Definitely, I guess technically filler since it doesn't really advance anything, but I don't know. I didn't really hate that, so I'm kind of okay with it. So I gave this one a 7.5 out of 10 as well.
You guys making me the bad guy there.
Somebody
Just don't like to see heroes have fun, I guess.
I don't mind seeing heroes have fun. That's a fuck. I love Wally as the Flash. That whole thing is fun when they're not fucking with him, and they haven't been. But Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman having a group hug on the couch, man, that is really stretching it. Oh, great googly muggly.
I thought it was cute. Yeah, they're like best friends.
I mean, they're friends. Do you not hug your friends?
They're like family.
Well, yeah, but
I hope so.
I don't think those three would exactly be sharing a group hug on the couch. I don't know. It's not like I'm opposed to it. It's just the whole feel of the issue, man. It was just off.
It did feel a little off, but I couldn't quite place my finger on how. But I still enjoyed it. I don't know. that was me.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Batman, we're gonna go talk about Batman, but not Batman. Batman. No, the other Batman.
Not the Batman,
And,
just Batman.
Yeah, just Batman.
Written by John Ridley, we have I Am Batman number 15 with art from Cal Mostert, Romulo Friardo Jr. on colors, and lettering from Toy Patiri with a cover from Christian Deuce and Rex Locus. So Batman beat Whitaker to death and nearly killed himself, but no, he's tripping. There's a lot of tripping going on in DC right now. Anyway, it turns out that it's Sinestro of all people messing with him. It seems Pariah sent him there specifically to kill Jace. Sinestro is really pulling his fears out of him and messing him up pretty bad. Jace overcomes it after Sinestro gives him some weird shaped construct of something. I don't know what the hell if that was supposed to be a ring or what. Batman turns it into a lantern glove, whoops his ass. Somehow one of his fears was the way that he turned down John when he asked for help with Dark Crisis, and now he's heading over there. Does he still have the glove? I don't know. It disappeared. It was never mentioned of after that. I mostly enjoyed the art. Some panels I was not a fan of, and Sinestro as a twist in this story, it comes out of nowhere, and it's very unusual to use as a catalyst. There could have been literally anything. It could have just been his own conscience that said, hey, maybe I should have gone and done this. But no, of all fucking people, it's Sinestro. It's a pivotal moment for the character, a very big one, and it felt kind of underwhelming and over the top at the same time. It's not a bad read, but it's kind of a bummer from the book that I've been reading so far. Not horrible, but it could have been something real good. 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, Brandon, what do you think?
I did not get a chance to read this one, so I will take you guys' word for it. You guys? Yeah.
Uh, well, maybe not take my word for it right now because I, I was
Oh,
very critical of this issue because Sinestro was involved. So,
there's no
um,
reason to not be honest.
yeah, it is another brief pause like we just saw in Wonder Woman from the ongoing stories to give us what I think is a very one-sided matchup as far as I'm concerned. Uh, Jace is so new in the hero business, and Sinestro is so experienced as a lantern. There's no way Jace could just beat him with a yellow construct, like physically beat him. It made no sense to me. It was so
How
out
did
of
he
character
make
for
it?
Sinestro.
Did Sinestro give him a ring?
Like
What
it,
the hell was
it,
that supposed to be? Was
the
it
whole
like
thing made no sense.
Optimus
It's
Prime handing you a spark? I mean, what the
uh,
fuck?
well that little bauble and spiked thing that I think that was Sinestro saying, "I'm gonna put this in your brain and blow it up." Like that was just his little cute little way of being evil, but it was still that might have been the only Sinestro-y thing going on. It was very very weird. Um, Quite honestly, 6.5 out of 10. The art is still good. It still has that I am Batman feel. I do enjoy the ongoing adventures of Jace Fox, but Sinestro kind of killed it for me this time. I don't know. It's just really off center. It. I had a pun for late, but now I forgot it. I don't know. It shown Sinestro in a very different light. I think is what I was going to say, but
Yeah,
whatever.
it was very weird.
Yeah.
Shown Sinestro in a different light. But ting. That's funny. Um,
You're too
yeah,
late.
I guess that's it for that one. You wanna what's going up next on this segment of the show?
Well, it's funny you mentioned John Kent being denied something. So we're going to
That
talk about
you
John
know
Kent
John
right now,
Kent.
Superman Son of Kal-El number 17,
You
which is
know
written by
nothing,
Tom
John Kent.
Taylor. Hey?
You know nothing, John Kent.
So this one was written by Tom Taylor with art from Kian Tormey and Rory Coleman with colors from Romulo Fajardo Jr., letters from Dave Sharp, and a cover from Travis Moore and Tamara Bonvillain. Simply put, John is enjoying some father son time with Clark as they're racing across the galaxies. Uh, on the way back, John tries to have a heart to heart with Clark about his bisexuality and coming out to him, but just couldn't do it. Meanwhile, in Metropolis, a character that's going by the name of Red Sin has some high tech suits, which may or may not have claimed his parents' life. He activates it and his apartment blows up. John comes to the rescue, but Red Sin has the upper hand on him, apparently sapping John's powers to the point that he can bleed and be beaten by a wooden chair. Clark shows up just in time to help him. They take him to Dr. Midnight's infirmary, where he heals up, and then Clark gets to meet Jay Nakamura. They finally have the little heart to heart father son moment, and it's very cute. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor has one of the Gamora core that he's butchering very surgically for some unknown reason. So this issue, at least for me, hit really close to home. Just with all the shit that's been going on in my life this year, plus, I've said before, I see myself in John Kent. Really, really good issue. But it does feel like things are starting to wind down as realistically they should, seeing as I think there's only one more issue after this. But this one was full of great moments. There's nothing but just moments, really. Um, I really enjoyed it. I think the art was on point. The story is still interesting. I wish it was ongoing because this whole going back to the diamond numbering was on points, fantastic. 8.5 out of 10.
8.5. How about you, Brain?
Much like another book we're going to discuss later, it is a book filled with good moments, but a story that just doesn't really hold it together for me, and I'm not that interested in. So it's kind of hard to defend it in that sense because, as nice as it is to have these great heart to hearts with John and Clark, I just wish I cared more about the Red Mist stuff and all that, because I mean, there's only an issue left, so I don't know how the hell they're going to try and wrap that all together, but it really just isn't that interesting or appealing to me at this moment. So I gave this a 7 out of 10.
Fair enough.
Honestly, and for me, I didn't have any life experiences that would allow me to parallel myself with John, like you did, Rob. But for me, I mean, his dad's Clark Kent. His dad loves literally everybody. His dad even loves bad guys, for fuck's sake. I feel like there was no reason to stretch this out as long as it did. It occupied way too much of the comic book. This whole talk between John and Clark, the potentiality of it, eventuality of it. There could have been a lot more dedicated to Red Sin and setting up whatever this Project Blackout shit is. I can't even really tell what Red Sin's deal is. Is he crazy, or are they crazy? Was he talking to a picture? I mean, when he was in his house, I couldn't tell. The art is good like always, but honestly, the issue this time wasn't much of anything. I hate to say it, but man, this felt like it was kind of phoned in. Writing the emotional thing, I understand it, and it probably was just lost on me, but it was just stretched out so much, almost like page filler for me. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
No, I can definitely agree that it took quite a long time to get to that point, and even I was wondering, like, your dad's Superman. He's maybe the nicest guy in the universe, and very understanding when it comes. His best friend is Batman. He needs to be an understanding person, so I don't think he's going to have any problem here. Yeah.
Yeah, if he can keep Jesus, yeah, that ain't no kidding.
Yeah. All right, so that is our brief, quick bite segment of the episode. Now we're going to shine a bright light on some spotlight books, some new number ones, and a mini series ending this week. Starting off, we're going to look at Wildcats number 1, and Mr. Brandon's going to tell us all about that.
All right, my pleasure. Hold on, here we go. Wildcats number 1. This is from Matthew Rosenberg with art from Steven Segovia and colors from Elmer Santos. It is a reintroduction to our favorite 90s Image heroes. Wildcats number 1 follows our current lineup of the Cats, Grifter, Zealot, and Deathblow after a botched mission to collect a scientist. Halo Corporation leader and Wildcats founder Jacob Marlowe assigns a new member for the team, one Caitlin Fairchild from Gen 13, if they still exist in this universe. After another mission to recruit a scientist goes sideways, the Cats attempt to flee, only to fall into an even more sinister place with some sinisterly nocturnal company. Really solid first issue, I have to say. Definitely kind of throws you into the thick of it. And I will say, and I would be hypocritical if I didn't, it would definitely help if you had a bit more of a familiarity with the team, much like Blood Syndicate, because it doesn't really explain all that much who a lot of these characters are. You get brief descriptions of who they are, Zealot and Deathblow and Grifter, obviously, but, like Fairchild or Marlowe, or they don't say it outright, but his bodyguard is Spartan, who I imagine, based on the fact that he's on the cover, will be another component of the team later in the series. So there's a lot of stuff that if you're not familiar with the Wildcats' history and some of these characters, it could really throw you for a loop, which is not always what you want for a number 1 issue. So I would be a hypocrite if I said it's entirely reader-friendly, where I had also kind of chided Blood Syndicate for the same thing. So for that, it does kind of lose points, but for those of us who do know the Wildcats and know the team's history pretty well, it's definitely a pretty fun reintroduction to them. And I'm interested to see how this story with the sinister nocturnal company, I don't want to give away the goose too much, but I want to see how that plays out. I'm not really sure. And as a final point, the Cats are no longer a covert action team, because I guess that's a little too 1992. They're a crisis aversion team, which is fitting considering we have a million crises every year. So they are DC's premier Crisis Av team, as Grifter calls them. And we'll see exactly how these crises are averted in future issues. But it's an interesting take on the team's purpose moving forward. So this one got an 8.5 out of 10 for me. But I guess in a practical sense, probably more like an 8 out of 10 overall, just because it really does kind of throw you into the deep end. It doesn't give you a lot of context for these characters.
Brandon, man, I opened this book, and I'm not even bullshitting you. That thought never even crossed my mind.
Even from the first page, they have like the Carabim Daemonite origin, which is straight out of the original series. And if you don't know what that is, you're just like, what the I don't, like, I already know Thanagarians and Ranians. I don't know who the fucking Carabim and Daemonites are. It's too much, so it can be a lot to process. I understand that.
Yo, but yeah. I completely ignored the fact that I'm going to adjust my score, but let me just give it to you the way that I was going to, because, man, this fucking issue it's stellar. Everything was just right. The artwork was so good. Colors were right on fucking point. Everybody was just like they should be. Them coming from somewhere else through the multiverse, I guess that makes sense. I'm still trying to figure out, are they on our universe now, or are they our Earth, or are they on a different Earth now?
But I don't know if that's the actual origin. It's sort of, it's the recurring gag that Grifter is kind of messing around with these stories, and you don't know if they're actually true. So that might have just been a fun Easter egg. But it seems like we don't know what the actual origin of the cats are right now.
Are you talking about the story he told in the bar?
Yeah.
No, this is at the beginning of the issue. I think the bar it's supposed to be like a DC versus vampires joke. Or wait, no, Deceased.
Deceased, yeah.
Apocalyptic one's fixed, yeah.
Okay. In any case, it's action packed, it's humor packed, it's danger packed, it's pure Wildcats. I loved it. Bravo, Rosenberg, bravo. I give it a 9.5. Now, considering that maybe there should have been some kind of an introduction to these characters, I'll adjust that, but not by much. I'm going to take it down to a 9. I love this so much. Like, I'm going to read this again after we get off the podcast.
Well, that being said, I, for one, have absolutely no history with any of these characters besides what we've seen with Grifter recently. And as for the rest of the characters, I know nothing. I never read Wildcats. I have no background. And I still freaking love this issue. I don't know if that intro page has any weight to it at all, if that was something from the 90s series or what. I don't know. But I thought it was funny, Grifter trying to pawn that off as an actual origin story. Just to mess with a guy. This issue was loads of fun. I'm kind of sad it's a limited series already, because if this is the first issue, that usually is a good sign. I know Matthew Rosenberg hasn't really disappointed me yet, so I was already going into this kind of excited, and I've enjoyed what I've seen with Grifter recently as well. So I figured this was going to be a thrill ride, and it was. There could be so much to explore, I think. I just don't get why DC won't take a chance on more characters and books. Unless this was Rosenberg's choice, I don't know, but it just seems like there's more and more limited series and less ongoings. Kind of a shame.
Fingers crossed we'll get the Rom V treatment from the Swamp Thing deal, where we'll get another 6 issues. That would be sick.
That would be good.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm down for it.
Do we know how many issues this is?
6, right?
I don't think they've said. But my guess would probably be 12. But
well,
yeah,
okay, I'll take 12. I'll take 12 fucking Wildcats. Hell yeah.
Yeah. As for score, I gave a 9 out of 10. I thought it was fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would say check out the original Wildcat series, but it's it's not good. It's
Oh
definitely the
yeah.
best of the original Image Founder books, but it's that's not a high standard. It is very entertaining though, I will say. The
Well,
first issue has a quote that I think almost 2 years later has still stuck with me, which is they meet Voodoo, who is like a stripper and is also secretly a carabim, has
oh wow.
carabim blood, and they're tracking her down. And Grifter walks into the strip club for the first time, and he says, "The Lord loves a working woman," and the bartender says, "Amen to that." And it's so terrible that it stuck with me for 2 years. I can send you the panel too. It'll get you
Oh
get a
yeah.
good
I
chuckle out
would
of
love
it.
it. I'll definitely
Oh
check it
god.
out. I'll give it a shot. I can't say I'll get
Mhm.
too far into it, but I'll definitely give it a
Yeah,
shot.
really, you only need to read the first four. I mean, it became an ongoing title once it did well, but all of them were originally only planned to be miniseries. So you can really just read the first 4 issues, and that's technically a complete story. It's not a great one, but it is technically one.
Fair.
Just remember, I liked it. I still like it. But just you got to go into it remembering that it's written in the 90s and it's written by people who are trying to definitely make a name for their brand new company.
Right. Who did write it?
Jim Lee and Brandon Choi, who's
Oh, he
like his
actually did.
friend from
Okay.
childhood.
I
Yeah.
thought Jim Lee was just doing the art.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Oh, fair enough. Dude, Brandon Choi, that name sounds so familiar. Is he still
I
in the
think
game?
he did pretty much all of Jim Lee's stuff in the 90s and then disappeared off the face of the earth.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Huh. Hold on. Unless,
Maybe
I
he
don't know.
disappeared. Maybe he
Getting
disappeared
confused with
into the
something else.
multiversity.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe. Who better to look for him than Teen Justice and their sixth and final issue? Speaking of a mini series, so this one is written by Danny Lore and Ivan Cohen, with art from Marco Faella, colors from Enrica Aaron Angiolini, and letters from Carlos M. Mangual, with a cover from Robbie Rodriguez. So we have the Teen Justice team going up against the Lantern Corps, Core Corps, led by Sinestra.
No, that pisses me
Don't get me started. So Jess Quick is the only one left standing to go up against Sinestra herself. So they take all of Teen Justice as far away as possible after Sinestra threatens to kill every single one of them, all the way to Amnesty Island in Maine, home of none other than Aquawoman. Uh, they start to regroup, realizing all the stuff that's going on and dealing with their fears, having lost Raven and potentially losing their mentors and their own lives, and realizing they are the only ones able to save the world. But Jess is running around being the flashiest they can be, going up
yeah.
against the Lantern Corps very, very easily, I might add. Taking down Kilowog, which I think I saw there was a different name for Kilowog recently, but I don't remember what it was. Kilowog, Kyle, and I think that's Badge.
Jillawog.
Leaving. Eh?
I said Jillawog.
Oh, oh goodness. Oh gosh. Oh no, Stella is actually it's Stella, not just
Stella.
Stella is taken out as well, leaving just Sinestra and Jess to duke it out. Meanwhile, Teen Justice is trying to figure out how they're going to get back to the fight, but they discover that Troy has hidden Wonder Man's invisible jet just in Amnesty Island Bay, just in the water, thanks to Aquawoman. So they fly back just in time to get found by Sinestra. They all start to have a big fight, the Corps and Teen Justice going up against each other. Meanwhile, Gigi has had a ring in her bag this whole time and decides, with the Corps trying to take out Teen Justice and succeeding, she's going to put on a ring And then we find out GG stands for Georgia Gardner, warrior. Oh my god. So, Georgia Gardner, fresh with a Green
I knew
Lantern
that
ring,
was
does
gonna
not get a
make you
Green Lantern
happy.
costume, has a kind of a kick ass warrior's costume, and just takes the fight straight to Sinestro, beats her with the power of their own rings, and saves the day. Just then, I think they were just called the Justice League. I don't quite remember what their team name was. Returns from their Universal adventure, safe and sound. Carol gets the dire news that Hal, the Green Lantern, has died, but always had her in his heart. And she takes Sinestra far away and, yeah, offers Georgia Gardner a spot as a Star Sapphire. And here, I will be honest, is where it gets a little muddy for me because I was reading this late Monday or Tuesday. What day is today? Wednesday? Must have been last night. Really late last night, and I kept dozing off, and I had to reread the last 3 pages like 5 times each. So it's a little muddy, but from what I understand, um, Hal's ashes are being taken away by Green Arrow on a cross country tour. And Teen Justice is safe and sound once again with Georgia Gardner, now a full on member. But with Raven gone, who knows what might come next as we see some devil horns popping out of some kind of liquid, which may or may not be Trigon. So there's the end with a question mark. Who knows? Maybe we will see more of these characters. I honestly certainly hope so. It was a lot of fun. I'm hoping there's more to come. Suffice it to say, this is easily the best Green Lantern story we've had in the past 2 years. So I'm all about it.
Jesus Christ.
I was actually super
Wow.
excited to have Georgia Gardner. I thought that was awesome. It's just been a fun look into this universe. I really do hope we get more. And I think we said when this series started off, there's no reason they can't do more multiversity stories and give us a little bit of exploration into the multiverse that stands right now. I think that's a lot of fun because honestly, the Elseworlds titles, all the fun of it was seeing what you could do with the characters we already know and love. And there's so much you can do. So bring it on.
Agreed.
I gave this. I thought I wrote down my score, but it seems to have been deleted, so I don't have it in front of me. I believe I scored it an 8.75.
Well, that's
Yeah,
fair enough.
yeah, that sounds familiar.
Did you read this one, Brandon?
I did. It was quite a bit of fun. I'm blanking on when Hal died. I don't really remember that. But it was
It wasn't really shown. It was kind of shown in flashbacks.
okay.
I think when Aqua Girl was on that alien planet and she found all the rings.
Yeah, because yeah,
Oh yeah, they were in a cave or something, right?
this yeah, because they do mention like Carol has a line where she's like, he wasn't who I hoped he'd be, and I was like, oh, I didn't think they would do it, but they actually did it, which is a reference for those who read the Green Lantern season 2 from gosh, I guess almost 2 years ago.
Hmm.
That version of how Ferris, I think his name was like a total douche. He was like a dude bro and a
Yeah,
sexist. And that was like, oh, you actually got to remember that version of Hal was a terrible person, but at least he tried to die a hero. Which is a good way to kind of try and tie everything together. And I still love this costume that Carol has. I wish that would be her standard costume. But aside from that, definitely fun, and I'm right there with you. I hope they do more multiversity type stuff, just exploring the different worlds, because as you said, there's just a unlimited amount of potential in it, and hopefully they can just mine that for as much as they can. So this one got an 8 out of 10 for me. It was very fun. I don't know why
Uh,
Hal is in his classic costume, or his Earth Prime costume, and like
Yeah.
the obituary thing that they have. Because as I remember, his was like a douchey dude bro tank top or something. I can send you a picture. It looks ridiculous, but it makes sense for the character.
Yeah, I don't quite remember the costume he had, but I do remember that it was different. So I was also kind of confused why why that costume was in the picture.
hmm
Hmm. Wait, Josh, did you already give your idea here?
No.
Ah,
Okay, so I thought that this was an okay issue for this book. Like, finally, it was a okay issue. I enjoyed this one. Um, Georgia Gardner showing up. There were a couple cool moments in it, but I have not been into this run whatsoever. I'm not opposed to getting miniseries of the multiverse. I just didn't dig the way that this one was told. Yeah, pretty decent average run, run of the mill ending. Honestly, I gave it a 6 out of 10. I didn't hate it. I just didn't really dig the story.
yeah, fair enough. Hey, to each their own. Yeah. Well,
Now we got the big ass issue for our
yeah,
spotlight this week,
yeah, we're going from the future all the way to the past, and
and the
that's with the
future,
new,
and a
the new
couple
golden
spots in
age.
between.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good point. We're going all over the place. We're going back to the future and forward again. And dear God, yeah, Hal Jordan's costume was horrible.
Yes.
Actually,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's not it's not horrible. It's certainly different. The Green Lantern logo is really weird, but
Mhm.
I
it's
would
uh
expect to see something that looks like that
it's a
on Kyle
costume.
before I saw it on Hal.
Yeah,
It's as I said,
yeah,
it's more fitting for the character and the context of the story.
yeah. Like I was gonna
I
say, I could
imagine.
see it on somebody like Guy, and Hal might
Yeah,
just be like Guy in this world. So maybe
yeah.
worse. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we're on to the new golden age, and I
I
believe
love it.
Josh is going to tell us all about that one.
No, actually, Brandon's going to because this is his bread and butter, man.
Yes, yes. Well, you passed it over to me because, as you mentioned, there are quite a number of plot points, and I did my best to try and simplify it enough that we could fit it into the spotlight section while also
Right
making sure we try and cover as much as we can. But yes, this is the new Golden Age #1, written by Jeff Johns with a battalion of people on the artistic team. Art
Uh,
from Steve Lieber, Diego Olortegui, Jerry Ordway, Todd Knock, Victor Bogdanovich, Scott Collins, Brandon Peterson, and Gary Frank, with colors from Nick Filardi, John Kalish, Matt Herms, Jordan Word I can't say, so I just wrote Boyd, and Brad Anderson, with letters from Rob Lee. So, to make a very long story short, something is trying to kill the Justice Society of America all across time. Both in the past, present, and future, all versions of Dr. Fate are haunted by visions of lost children, murdered Dr. Fates, and a stranger at the bloody center of it all. In the distant past of the 1940s, after seeing this vision, Kent Nelson is assured by his fellow teammates that he will have allies to stand by him in the coming chaos. In the modern day, Khalid Nassour is also haunted by these visions, and he and Detective Chimp enlist the help of Deadman to bring the spirit of Howhet out of the helm of fate, hoping she may have some answers where Nabu did not. The stranger also haunts a young Helena Wayne, the daughter of Batman and Catwoman. Despite their best attempts to shield her
said, say
from the life of
what?
heroes, it seems that Helena, following the discovery of her father's secret identity as Batman and Batman's death not too long after this discovery, will be pulled into the life of heroism as Huntress, with a mission to ensure that the stranger's dark plans do not come to pass. Finally, we have the Time Masters, who are on the case of the missing 13 heroes that were removed in the timeline, as seen in Flashpoint Beyond #6, as well as trying to track down some of the loose ends from Doomsday Clock, like Mime and Marionette's kid, and the mysterious new fangirl of Ozymandias, the young woman called Nostalgia. And that is pretty much everything in this issue. So I'm proud of myself that I was able to condense it that much. We are also treated to some fun Who's Who pages of the 13 characters who were removed from the timeline in the back of the book, and you can check those out. It's always a fun nod to the Who's Who pages from the 80s. But aside from that, really, really great issue. I think this kind of big time, cosmic spanning story is exactly what the JSA needs right now. Just a big, exciting story to get people talking about them again and excited to read about them again. And, even the title, which I've mentioned in the past, is evocative of, the JSA, one of the JSA's most classic stories, The Golden Age, from James Robinson and Paul Smith back in like 1994, I think, which was sort of a retelling of the JSA history, right up until the I think 60s or something like that. But it really deals with the formation of the team up until their dissolution after the HUAC hearings and everything. And we actually have some fun nods to that here, which is also really nice. But yeah, aside from that, it's it's definitely involving a lot of stuff, and that's to be expected. There are a lot of plot threads that I think Johns has wanted to tackle for a while now, and is getting the chance to do so while also writing his favorite team as well. And I know that the Golden Age is one of his favorite titles, as he's mentioned a couple times. So it's fitting that this book is paying homage to that. But yeah, great art, really interesting, engaging story. I'm interested to see where it goes. I imagine there's going to be some discourse on the new 13 heroes. I'm not going to list them all here, but you can check that out in the issue itself. But suffice it to say, I really have no problem with it because, as we discussed earlier in Discord, a lot of the characters in the Golden Age kind of had their publishing history cut short when sales started to dip around the late 40s. So there's this weird kind of period where a lot of these characters were just in limbo and didn't have a lot of stories. And I think that's the perfect opportunity to just try and fill in that space and say, hey, well, while they were not being actively published, here's a lot of the stuff that they got the chance to do. So I know at least for Alan Scott, I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with the Red Lantern character, because of all the characters, and I actually had to go through this one with like a fine-tooth comb, but of all the characters that did not have the opposite villain, where you have a villain that's just the opposite of you, like Jay Garrick had the Rival, and Superman has Bizarro and all that stuff. Like it was shocking to me that Jay never had that. They never stooped that low and did the laziest type of villain that you could have. So having Alan with his polar opposite Lantern, if you will, where he's representing U.S. interests, and this is a Soviet Lantern, a Red Lantern. They're opposite. Should be interesting, and I'm wondering what his origins will be. I hope they don't try and connect it with the core. My hope is they try and keep it more mystical in origin to kind of counteract Alan's origin, but we'll see. But there's a lot of interesting stuff being set up here, and my hope is they just really try and explore as much as they can and just do the JSA justice. Always been a fan of the team, and it's great that they're kind of taking the spotlight for a little bit. And my hope is that they can really tell some great stories with that. So this one got a 9 out of 10 with me, or 9 out of 10 from me. Very excited to see how all this stuff plays out in the next couple months.
Yeah. Yeah, shit. You're going to have to forgive me for what I'm about to say, Brandon, because I'm talking about stuff you were leaving out. The art, and it is really good in most everywhere throughout the book. Colors worked really, really good. So that's always a plus. I am going to admit I haven't revisited any of these stories in a while, so my memory, unfortunately, has kind of let me down with this book, but I remember bits and pieces, and wrapping everything together, it was. I mean, Jeff Johns did it pretty damn good, at least to set up a Justice Society series that's coming. Bunch of new shit introduced, some serious stuff went down. Helena Wayne is now a thing, like for sure, real Dr. Fate is dead, or isn't he? I can't tell right now. I think he might be dead, or is that just the future?
The future version of Dr. Fate is dead. The others are, they're still alive.
So present day Khalid is still alive?
Yeah. No, he just had a dark vision.
Okay. All right. Now, Brandon, I'm gonna need your help here. Now, the Harlequin's son, that's a new character, right? That's brand new.
That is a new character, yes.
All right, but Soviet Lanterns, Salem, the Boom, Ladybug, Quiz Kid, John Henry Jr., and Cherry Bomb. Are those existing characters?
These are all new characters. And like I said, we don't have
characters.
to, yeah, like I said, with the exception of the Golden Age Aquaman, because that's literally just the Golden Age Aquaman. But
and Mr. Miracle too, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's Thaddeus
Brown.
Brown.
That's Thaddeus Brown, the old one. But they're sort of retconning that he had a Golden Age past, whereas previously he was just the guy that trained scot-free back in the original Mr. Miracle series in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, I'm digging that. But yeah, there's so much crazy shit that's happening here. I hope Jeff Johns delivers. He's got an awful lot of books to be able to do so. So, maybe he definitely just needs more than 3. I'm not even going to say the name of it. But in any case, new Golden Age #1, which I believe is a one-shot. Yeah, this is just set up for Justice Society. All right. This one gets a 9 out of 10 from me.
All right, so yeah, the new Golden Age is looking bright and shiny like gold. I cannot wait to see how this mystery unfolds. It was fantastically written. The different art styles, depending on the time period, was really well done. My only gripe is that Khalid Nassour seems a little too green as a hero.
Yeah.
To the point that he's at now, where we've seen him in Justice League Dark and other stories more recently. He's been Fate for a while now. He's still learning some ropes, but he's confident enough in himself and his abilities as Dr. Fate that he knows what he's doing. But this version of Khalid just seemed like he got the helmet a month ago. Really,
that
really
was a little weird.
Yeah. Apart from that, I love the whole thing. It's 9 out of 10. And if I may, I think The Stranger, I don't know if you guys got the same vibe, but I think it's Per Degaton.
I thought so too, but I was like, I don't know, because Per Degaton is, I mean, it would not be surprising. And they had the what was it? They had that story and the short story that Jeff and Brian Hitch did in the Stargirl spring break special, where I think they were doing some stuff with Per Degaton, and I thought it might be old school villain from the JSA, part of the Injustice Society of America.
Who had also brushed up against the Time Masters on more than one occasion.
Yes. And I was thinking, I was like, well, yeah, that would make sense. But I noticed that this version, and it could just be an art thing, but I noticed that this version looked a lot younger. So I thought maybe this is like, because they're talking about the lost children and it's about legacy and the JSA and all that stuff, was like maybe it's Per Degaton's kid who is trying to kind of inherit his dad's legacy and thus wants to bring down all versions of the JSA to really kind of honor that legacy. That's total speculation, but it kind of looked like if Per Degaton ever had a kid, this would be it.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I could see that.
Makes a lot of sense. Brandon, gone
and
psychic again.
I also just wanted to point out, I love the old school 90s style. What do they call them? The fact sheets on all the new characters.
Yeah, the Who's Who pages. Yeah.
Those are really cool to see.
It's always a fun throwback.
Even the art style for each one was very 90s. It looked like like the 90s paper.
Mm-hmm. Well, Who's Who, I think, was Josh, you would know better than me. This would have been your time, but I think Who's Who was the 80s. and then I think they started phasing them out roughly either in the late 80s or early 90s or something like that. But
I think
you
they
can,
stopped in the very early 90s, like 91, 92.
yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely an 80s thing.
I know the pages like that though they had periodically in like the secret files and origins one shots.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In scattered throughout, they'd have those fact pages for certain characters as well.
Yes, yeah.
Always fun. Always fun.
It's been a while since we've had a secret origins or secret files anything. I don't know how much
Yeah,
those
they
were
might
ever
have
really
been.
enjoyable. I always enjoyed them when I was still
There was
learning about the
Batman Secret
characters.
Files.
But,
Yeah, it's really just Batman that does it these days. I mean, they used to have them, for a lot of different teams and characters, but it seems like Batman is the only one who really has the secret files now, because you don't see, Superman secret files or Wonder Woman secret files.
Because Batman's the guy with the files.
yeah, he's so
I guess so,
qualified.
yeah. He's
It's
the only one
really
who
hard
has
to
files
find.
in the entire DC universe.
It's really hard to find the filing cabinet on the Invisible Jet.
Yeah. Well, it's just everyone else is like, they're not computer savvy at all. Not even like characters who are made of computers.
Okay, so Superman stores everything in a crystal, right?
Yeah.
And
How do you
then
file
Wonder
a
Woman doesn't rely on memory. She just uses the lasso of truth to find out everything.
Yeah.
She doesn't have like a notebook or a scroll or something. You can't remember everything. You got to write down some stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Secret talent is that it can talk to inanimate objects too. She's just like, tell me what's going on here.
Come on, chair. What happened?
Exactly.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I think the spotlight has gone out.
Yeah, the batteries are kind of running low. We are out of Spotlight books for this week. And with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. Stick around.
Now, back to our program.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with Not a Robot. I know you stuck around. I can hear you. Not in a creepy way. Not in a creepy way. I know you're there. I hear you breathing.
It's creepy with me.
Breathe a little quieter. Trying to do a show here. Okay, so we're back. We're doing our in-depth reviews, and we're going to start off with Batman Incorporated #2. We're going corporate.
Oh no!
And I believe
Not
Brandon
too
is going to tell us about that. Not too corporate.
Yes, yeah, not too corporate. We're free agents here. We don't represent any corporations, but Batman does. In Batman Inc. #2, this is from Ed Brisson with art from John Timms, colors from Rex Locus, and letters from Clayton Cowles. The various members of Batman Inc. are working their hardest to solve the mystery of the century. Who is killing off Ghostmaker's old teachers? In Canada, Raven Red and El Gaucho uncover that one of Ghostmaker's old mentors had been selling chemical weapons. In Suriname, Jiro and Grey Wolf are trapped by the master traps maker who also trained Ghostmaker, and who nearly kills the two before they are rescued by a mysterious red-themed hero. In Moscow, Avery Oblonsky also lures Knight and Wingman into another trap before they are also saved by a mysterious red-themed hero. Back in Dublin, Dark Ranger and Black Mist discussed whether Ghostmaker really might be behind all of these murders, given that his sword is at the scene of Tommy Tevaine's death. Finally, back in Shanghai, Ghostmaker's reunion with Sky Spider goes about as unpleasantly as you might expect. As she leaves Ghostmaker, an explosion kills her and leaves Ghostmaker disgruntled. In addition to this, Clown Hunter has gone missing, kidnapped by the murderer seemingly behind everything. And that murderer is Ghostmaker's old sidekick. Calling himself Phantom One, he plans to save plans to save Clown Hunter from a fate he knows too well. I swear these names, I just get them interchanged every time. And I literally have it written down, and I still get them fucked up. But anyway, Batman Inc. #2. I have to say, I mean, I enjoyed the first issue. I don't think I was on when you guys were talking about it, but I enjoyed the first issue. Or no, I think I was. And I remember thinking that was, pretty solid start. But I think this one was even better, actually. I will admit it does jump around a lot, and it must be hard juggling all the various members of Batman Inc. who are all across the globe right now. But it's fun. It feels like a really fast paced international thriller, which it is kind of. And we're just catching up with all the various members. We're trying to get down to the bottom of this. I will say they gave away the mystery of who's actually behind these murders maybe a little bit too early, because it is only issue 2, and it leaves me wondering how long this arc is supposed to be. Like, I thought they might have teased it out for at least 1 or 2 more issues, but we're really just kind of getting right down to it. So the question is, now that Clown Hunter knows, how soon will the rest of them figure out? I guess we'll have to see. But aside from that, yeah, I think this one actually stepped it up from the previous issue, which I thought was solid, and definitely not what I expected in the way of a murderer. I mean, Ghostmaker having an old sidekick who's gone rogue is very reminiscent of Red Hood, but I don't know. I think it could make for something interesting.
See, that's exactly
and we'll
where
see
I
how
was
that
at.
plays out. Yeah. Yeah, it's essentially that. Aside, well, we don't know what his backstory is just yet, but I guess we'll have to see. But the core of that idea of his old sidekick gone rogue and killing off all of his old associates is kind of Red Hood, like. So yeah, no, solid stuff here, but this was just I think serious. Again, I don't want to say that the first issue was bad, but definitely feels like, oh, okay, now we're really getting down to it. So I definitely had a lot of fun with this one, and I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. And John Timms, I've not been talking about the arts in a lot of these books. I feel like it's pretty implied that most of them are pretty good. But I gotta say, John Timms is winning my most improved award of 2021 and 2022, respectively, because I did Young Justice and I was not a fan of that. I was like, ooh, this is all static and weird and kind of rushed in places. But ever since like Future State, honestly, guy's been on a real upward trend, and that last splash page with Phantom One was like really good. So props to you, man. You've improved, at least in my eyes. So 8.5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, man. Uh, Ghostmaker's murky ass past is stopping him from being a hero. That's kind of funny. I feel like we knew that Phantom One was out there. Well, it was at least some kind of a plot point, given that he wanted Clown Hunter to be called Phantom 2. Hell, I can't even remember when that was now, but I do remember it. Anyway, he killed a sidekick. I guess I I hope that this won't be a repeat of Jason Todd exactly. I mean, obviously there's a lot of parallels, but hopefully he's not going to say that Ghostmaker killed him by letting him get killed. Um, I hope it's something different. But this has been great so far. This book setting up all of Batman Inc. This issue is no different. Looks great too, by the way. Like Brandon was saying, it just gets better. The inks and the colors. Chef's Kiss. I liked it. 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, well, this story just got super interesting, like way more than it already was. It was very interesting already. I 100% agree with you, Brandon. I did not expect the killer to just be shown off so soon. That's why I'm not 100% convinced that um, was a Phantom One is the name he's going with. That
Yeah.
he's the actual killer, and that maybe he's just like a side piece to the story, strictly
piece.
because Clown Hunter's been
Perfect.
palling around with Ghostmaker, and Phantom One has seen that and is trying to put a stop to that right away. I could be completely wrong though. Maybe he is the killer, but what's also piquing my curiosity is all these other characters that are showing up and potentially saving other members of Batman Inc., which makes me think maybe there's a rival Batman Inc. going around because they all seem to have bat ears on their heads. It's really interesting designs. Yeah, I'm loving the
Yeah.
whole series so far though. Like if we get a kind of a curveball at the second issue, um, I'm curious what is going to happen next. Like how much more story can there be? and I think uh, we've got quite a lot to come. I think
Yeah.
throwing a curveball so early, there's going to be a much deeper story to go forward. So I'm
Or we're
very
going to be
excited for the
seeing
future of
him as
this.
a recurring villain.
Yeah, potentially. I gave this 8.75 out of 10. It was really good.
Mm. And in response to your thing about an opposite Batman Inc., there actually kind of was, but no one did anything with it, which is sad. Pete Tomasi had an annual like 3 years ago, I think, when he was doing Detective Comics, about an old Batman character from year two called the Reaper, and one of the Reapers, I think it was the son of the original Reaper, basically started Reaper Incorporated, or the equivalent of that, where he had international Reapers acting as assassins. It was a really cool idea, and then just, I guess, either because he wasn't on the book for that long, or after that, I don't know, but no one ever did anything with it. But it's a shame. It was a really cool idea. It kind of could have been the anti-Batman Incorporated.
That does sound. I don't remember that, but that does sound really cool. Was it one of the
Yeah,
annuals you said?
Detective Annual number 2, I think it was, from like 2018.
Oh, okay, I gotta check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Well, who knows? Maybe this is going with it. Maybe
Maybe,
that's the key.
maybe,
Who knows?
perhaps.
Okay, so we're going from Batman fighting in corporate world to fighting in the superhero world because he's fighting his son. Yeah,
So,
Batman versus Robin, potentially plural. Number 3 is coming at you now, and Josh is going to talk about that.
I definitely will. Written by Mark Waid with art from Mahmoud Asrar and Scott Godlewski. Colors from Jordi Belair, Steve Wands on letters, and Asrar with Nathan Fairbairn on that cover. Alright, so while Batman is on his way to Lazarus Island, Damian, as the new demon Batman, gives his Robins gifts of war, Tim Drake an invisibility cloak, Jason Poseidon's trident, Steph gets a staff, and Dick gets the Sword of Sin, flaming, of course. The rest of the Bat family is shown with green things covering up their mouths. Damien approaches Talia, gives her a tongue lashing, and then asks how she will pay for her sins. She doesn't answer, so boom, now she's blindfolded and hanging upside down using the same green energy stuff as on the Bat family. While Batman begins his fight toward Damien, fighting and beating Tim first, Mother Soul is making Black Alice, and I hope she sticks around after this. She's making Black Alice suck the power out of the Queen of Fables and put it in the mask of Dr. Fate. Neza shows up with Shifu Piggy from Monkey Prince, which I thought was kind of cool. He's tied up in more green energy. I guess that's kind of been forecasted in Monkey Prince, the tie and the relationship between Neza and Shifu Piggy, if you've been reading that. Anyway, so Shifu Piggy from Monkey Prince tells Neza with a lot of joy that Neza's brother is on Earth and can't wait to talk to him. Batman goes up against Steph and Jason at the same time, and he clears them too, albeit a little worse for wear with a broken rib and more. Later on, Damien approaches Piggy, and Piggy points out that he can feel the small part of Damien pushing against Neza. He also gives up Neza's backstory about how he used to be a good guy, and that he's gathering an army of 8 billion to defend himself. I think it's 8 billion is what he said. Batman finally makes it to Nightwing and is basically battling both Nightwing and Azrael's sword at the same time. After distracting Dick momentarily by causing him to stab Alfred, Batman knocks him out and then tells fake Alfred all the reasons that he knew he was fake before the demon energy released from Alfred's body. And then he gets a very long speech about how Batman needs to quit blaming himself for Alfred's death from Alfred's ghost before it fades away forever. Then Batman just picks himself up and walks into the cave to well, I guess to start the next issue. The art was kind of iffy in places for me, honestly. Not everywhere, but in places that it was noticeable without having to look back through the issue. This is probably the best out of the 3 issues so far, and I'm giving this a 7.5 if that tells you anything. They set up a bit more in this issue, but there's not long left for the payoff, so 7.5 is the best I can do on this one. How about you guys?
Brandon, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've been the weird defender of this series. Even though I had pretty much very low to bad expectations for how this book was going to be. So it's surprising that I'm still enjoying it even with this one. And never would I have thought that an issue where Batman essentially just beats the shit out of all his Robins would have been so enjoyable, but it was in a horrible way.
Come here, you little motherfucker.
And yeah. But you know, it's I think in that sense, it is honoring its title. It's Batman versus Robin, but it's not just one Robin; it's all of them. And he, has had 4 at this point, so I suppose it's only natural that he's going to come to blows with all of them at some point. So it was I don't know, in a weird way it was kind of nice seeing him go through all of them and revisiting his own failures. And I know that sounds terrible, but it just kind of, I don't know, the way it was presented, at least for me, was like, okay, I'm getting what they're trying to say here, and I feel like it's somewhat working. So that when he eventually landed on Dick Grayson, you're like, oh shit, this is gonna be something, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's aside from that, it's just been a really like solid action-packed series. Like I feel like I don't have all that much to complain about. And we know that Damian is possessed and will likely break free, and for all intents and purposes, will help fight against Neza following this. So right now, it's kind of just like I'm just enjoying the ride and having fun seeing Batman try and get to the bottom of this. And I know last issue you said it was kind of, Bat God stuff. And I agree, yes, he is very hyper capable here. But for a book that is trying to focus so heavily on, the various relationships that Batman has to his Robins and to Alfred and to everyone else, I think it wouldn't really make sense for anyone else to be going up against these people, because it is kind of about him. So I'm willing to kind of forgive that. The last point I had is Tim, I think, must have gotten his head banged a little bit harder than he realized, because he is coming hard at Bruce, saying, you treated me like you were invisible. And I was like, buddy, that wasn't him. That was Dick Grayson. He fired you and then was like, oh, sorry, I can't really do anything about that. When Bruce came back, he was the one that was kind of trying to welcome you back in the fold. So I don't know why you're getting mad. If you want to get mad at anyone, get mad at Dick. But that sounded funny. Don't get mad at don't get mad at me. I was dead. I was literally trapped in time. There's nothing I could do.
You were looking for me and everything.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I mean, what did you? Do you think I should have just come bursting through time and then been like, Damian, take off that damn costume. Tim, you're Robin now. Like, what did you want me to do? But anyway, no. Aside from that, a really, really solid issue. So I gave this one an 8.5 out of 10 as well.
Hell yeah!
Right on. Yeah, I'm happy you brought up that kind of double meaning with the title, because I definitely picked that up as well.
Batman versus Robin versus Robin versus Robin versus Robin versus Robin.
Yeah, like pretty much. It's not even just about physically beating the shit out of his children. It's also theoretically the concept of Batman fighting the idea of Robin. And the story just got super friggin' deep for me. Because not only was he physically fighting each of the Robins, including Stephanie, but he was also fighting each of their feelings. His feelings were fighting their feelings, and he was fighting his own feelings, and they were fighting their own feelings. Like, there was a lot of thought process and emotion in there as well. Um, and as he fought each one, he fought the things that he potentially did, minus Tim Drake, because as you pointed out, Brandon, that was Dick, not Bruce. He's fighting against the things that he did to them. So it got really friggin' deep for me. Either that, or I was just really friggin' tired and saw something that's not there. I don't know. That tends to happen.
Mixture of
But
both,
that's
I'd say.
yeah.
Kick you in the feels, man.
That's how I took it. And that last little bit, last couple of pages, I'll admit it brought a bit of a tear to my eye. It was touching. It was really nice. I'm happy they're leaving it there. I'll be honest, but
Yes.
yeah. The art was good. I'm kind of digging the story the way it was this issue. I'm curious to see how it's going to end, though I think we have an idea. 8.5 out of 10 for this one.
Right on. I'm just gonna throw in right before we move on here that the whole Alfred's ghost thing was completely unnecessary. I mean, I get it. Everybody wanted a touching moment between Bruce and Alfred, but I mean, it's like what 78 years later now. You know,
When it comes to the concept of this book, though, at least how they're getting the theoretical stuff, I'm seeing it in a better light now. That the one draw that could always quell a fight between Bruce and Dick and Bruce and Tim and Bruce and Damien was always Alfred. He was always the one that each of the Robins can go and talk to and just have a sounding board or have a shoulder to cry on. And same with Bruce. He was always that person for Bruce. So to have Alfred there at the end to just, again, say to Bruce, like, it's not your fault. You don't blame Damien. You blame yourself. Don't do that. And don't blame the Robins. And he's being himself. He's being Alfred. And I think for a story like this, you kind of need that pull. But at the end of the day, like, still leave him where he is.
Yes.
It's character progression that we've always wanted. So that sounds dark. Not that we always wanted Alfred dead, but story progression in a way that changes things, in a way that sticks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, so that was a big fight. Would you say? I'd say that's a pretty big fight. It was a lot of rounds, and we're going to get into an even bigger fight now. Quite a massive fight, a crisis of fights, if you will. It's oh god, that was horrible. Dark Crisis on Infinite Earth number 6 is here. The penultimate chapter, I believe. And I'm just going to preface this. I was talking with Josh earlier this week about when we were waiting our copies of the books, and I said this is solely just based on Blackest Night, but the penultimate issues of events for me tend to be the biggest ones and the best of the series. At least that was the case with Blackest Night, and I kind of put that second to last issue on a pedestal for each event. And if that issue is weak, the event fails. So this was a big thing for me. But as for the story, so we jump into the Green Lanterns are still on Sector 666 on, I believe that's Riot. Yeah, that's Riot. With the Black Lantern presence, and they're trying to communicate with Mr. Terrific, but it is proving ineffective as the signal is being jammed somehow. Just then the Black Lantern activates, and a whole bunch of shadow beings come pouring out, attacking the Green Lanterns in droves. Meanwhile, on Earth, the gigantic brouhaha between the Great Darknesses in Justice League, I guess you call it. The forces of evil.
Society,
yeah. The forces of evil are fighting the forces of good in the biggest fight you've ever seen outside the Hall of Justice. And it's honestly kind of 50-50 as to who's going to win. Some fights seem pretty good, some just don't. But one that seems very interesting is Gar is up and running around and just ready to just tear the shit out of Slade Wilson. uh, slashing both his arm and his eye-patched eye in a feral werewolf-like form. They go for one big fight between the two of them, but is interrupted as we jump over to the worlds away from Earth Zero, as it's described, the dead Earth in the dead multiverse that our current dead Justice League are residing on, along with Hal and Barry, and I believe Kyle and Joe are there too. They're trying to figure out a way to get back to Earth, despite Pariah's warnings that if they try, they will not make it back alive. And Barry and Hal have somewhat of a plan to get them back together using the connection to the Black Lantern battery and Barry's ability to change the vibrations of their molecules to traverse the multiverse. Using that in unison, they may be able to get them back. But as I stated, they're unsure if they'll all make it back. But Ollie, knowing his fate, as he was just brutally destroyed by Doomsday before they were all teleported away by Pariah, that they need to do it because that's the job. That's the risk they take every time they put on the suit and go out to fight crime. So it's got to be done. And if that's the cost he's got to pay, that's the cost he's got to pay. Dinah is obviously upset about that, but she reluctantly agrees because she knows Ollie speaks the truth. So Hal and Barry recite each other's power-up phrases, I guess, as Barry starts to say in brightest day and blackest night, and Hal says, "Run, Barry, run."
Catchphrase, man. They say they're each other's catchphrase.
I would say catchphrase, but "Run, Barry, run" was Barry never said that. He was always told that.
You say that in Flashpoint right before he fucked up the universe. That's not exactly the catchphrase I'd want to say before I go home. I think so, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Or it might have been what Reverse Flash said to him. I gotta double check that.
Oh yeah.
That would make more sense. It would be weird if Barry was talking to himself in the third person.
Yeah. Run, Barry, run.
Yeah.
It is also a phrase that was used frequently on the Flash TV show. Every time Barry went up against a new villain, says, "Guys, I'm not fast enough," and somebody just gets on comm and says, "Run, Barry, run. You can run fast." Thanks, I can beat him now. That's basically it's a stained phrase at this point.
And that's why I don't watch that show.
Yeah. Yeah. So they do that, and for some reason that activates their powers, and it succeeds. They teleport the members of the Justice League away as we jump back
cool
to
panel too.
It is. It was actually a really cool panel. They teleport away, and we then jump back to Earth 1, or no, Earth 0, where the fight is taken a bit of a dark turn. Darkseid is literally torn Frankenstein in half in a brutal fashion, but he's Frankenstein, so you know he's not dead. Yeah. Meanwhile, Mr. Terrific is trying to figure out Pariah's machine and how they can use it to their advantage, while Black Adam is goading him to try and get out and fight because the heroes are losing horribly. As Mr. Terrific says, "Look, they're out there. You're not. They're doing fine. Put up or shut up, basically."
Right. Get the fuck... Are you going to sit there and complain, or are you going to get out there and help them, you dipshit?
Yeah, dick. So we jump back into the fight, where the heroes are having a bit of a struggle. Nightwing alone is having to take on Ravager and Roundhouse all at the same time, while John and Yara Flor are working together to take on some people. But then Jace Fox shows up on a motorcycle running down somebody that looks like a lion. I feel like I know who that villain is, but I can't quite place it. It's not Catman. That'd be weird if that was Catman. But that also, you see, takes place at the end of I Am Batman number 15, which we talked about earlier. Leads directly into this panel, where he conveniently stops right in front of Yara and John, because that's the future state trinity right there. You need that image. It's pretty cool. So as he states when he arrives, he says, "I'm not joining the team, but I also didn't come alone." And in behind him comes Steel, the Ray, Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, Miss Martian, Nubia, and Connor Hawk. Coming in saying that it's time for the Justice League to take the fight to them. Uh, and joining them on another panel is Booster Gold, Firestorm, and Ted Cord Blue Beetle. But before they can really do much, Pariah fires a blast and decimates Connor Hawk, Blue Beetle, Ted Cord, Steel, Firestorm, and Booster Gold in the classic fashion that he did with the Justice League at the beginning of the series. And that is actually the last time we see them for this issue. So as things start to come together, he realizes that things are going his way, but then Black Adam and Mr. Miracle come out with the machine, trying to get some help to make it work. Jace runs up and says, look, I may not be the tech genius of the family, but I am related to a couple, so I know a thing or two. Let me take a stab at it. Pariah notices his machine there is being worked on, so he calls the Dark Army to stop the heroes that are there. And John flies in saying this is a job for Superman as he takes on the heaviest hitters of the Dark Army.
At the same
solo.
time.
At the same time by himself because it's a job for Superman.
Yara
grabs Pariah.
Doomsday. Jesus.
Yeah, among others as well. It's just wild. John's taking the fight to them while Yara Floor has Pariah wrapped and bound in the lasso to get him to try and see the truth. And as the truth has come to him, the voice that has been speaking to him that he believes is the Great Darkness has disappeared, and it is not actually talking to him anymore. But he doesn't believe it, blasts out of the lasso of truth as John gets blasted by a Nega Beam and hit in the stomach by Doomsday at the same time. Just then he gets beaten mercilessly by the Dark Army heavy hitters and has memories of his parents, how they're telling him how great he can be as a hero. And it's a very touching moment. He's
before his eyes.
bringing the fight hard, but is
knocks
proving
Ares out with one fucking hit.
yeah. But he's getting beat still. He's getting beat down still. And Yara is down as Pariah stands up and is ready to blast her right in the face and disintegrate her. Just as Jace figures out how to make the machine work and fires it right at Pariah, incinerating him. And he is gone finally, as his curse is over and he is dead. John is now on his knees as Black Adam, Jace, and others are trying to get to him in time to save him from Doomsday getting one final blow. But in a moment very reminiscent of, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you know the moment I'm talking about. Clark steps in and catches Doomsday's punch. Doomsday goes to throw another one, but John catches that. Yeah. Never again will you do this. You're not killing us today, Doomsday. We're going to kill you. Then John passes out. And Clark reassures him that, look, sorry we're late, but I didn't come alone. And then the entire Green Lantern Corps and Justice League have shown up to help the fight. And then we see some beautiful splash pages with some team-ups. We get the Bat family and the Titans fighting some people. We get the Green Lantern and the Flash family fighting some people. We get the Wonder family and Jon Stewart's ex-girlfriends fighting some people. And then we see Roy and Dinah meeting up, happy to see each other again because they're both alive. But then Roy asks, where's Oliver? Damn. So the fight is being won slowly but surely, and Mr. Terrific asks Alan how it's going in the multiverse, but the darkness is still spreading. Whatever Pariah started is not slowing down. And as the heroes are regrouping and trying their best to stave off whatever victory the Dark Army is going to have, Slade Wilson appears, beefed up, hulking, and as dark as ever, holding Nightwing and Ravager in his hands, saying, I am not done until all of you are dead. So, at least for me, one huge fight is basically this whole issue, and it makes for a better issue than the previous ones we've had, because at least you had one consistent story. You didn't have half a good story and half a nonsense story. It was all actually pretty good in this issue, I think, which does give it that feel that I mentioned at the beginning of my review. So Pariah is gone, and the darkness is still around, but I refuse to believe Slade is the be-all, end-all of this, so there is definitely something going on. If they're convinced it's not the Great Darkness, well, just what the hell is it? Because at this point, who's left? What could possibly be it? And that's right. You know who it is. It's Kite Man.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. It's got to be Kite Man. He's the only one left that's not there. So, yeah. All in all,
You
I
might be
gave.
onto something, man.
Yeah, maybe.
It's Kite Man and onomatopoeia.
That's a pretty dark world right there. So yeah, I could see that.
Oh yeah, kapow.
I'm kind of toeing the line. I'm right in the fence between 8.5 and 8.75. I'll just give it an 8.5 for now. Still really enjoyed it. The art was fantastic. The story was cohesive this time around. I don't think there's much to complain about from me. Except I didn't give the credits. I just realized it's written by Joshua Williamson with art by Daniel Sampier and Rafa Sandoval, colors from Alejandro Sanchez, and letters from Troy Pateri. Just so you know.
All right. So, man, this one is just absolute amazing when it comes to the artwork. Daniel Sampier, Rafa Sandoval, and Alejandro Sanchez, just absolutely awesome. And this is easily the best issue out of the Dark Crisis books yet, just like Rob said. Those are both great things. Being the best of these books isn't a high bar, but still, this one was really good. It had a decent story running all the way through it, but here we are. I read this book. You had to know I was going to mention it. He's done it again. He's ended a story, a huge story, by not ending it. And that is absolute ass.
There's still one
know
more
that
issue.
was going to happen. There's 7. I thought there was only 6.
No, we got
all
one
right,
more.
So maybe, but
Yeah.
all right, okay. So score adjusted. This, like I said, it's the best issue that there's been so far out of it. The art is awesome. And I guess we know why Green Arrow doesn't have any books coming anytime soon.
Yes, they both died.
8 out of 10.
What the hell?
I mean, it makes sense. I guess I don't know why. Anyway, he got his head squished by Doomsday.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how he was there to begin with. What am I missing?
Yeah, it was a definite. Yeah, you're done, Ollie. Goodbye. I think some Black Lantern shenanigans are gonna happen though, because I was thinking about there's got to be a bigger reason that friggin' Roy was a Black Lantern in Infinite Frontier.
All right, what about you, Brandon? What do you think?
I vaguely recall saying before we started talking about this series, before it came out, that the series was going to, in its penultimate moment, have a scene where the heroes are at their lowest moment, and then at the last minute, the Justice League, who were previously missing, are going to arrive and save the day. I vaguely but also vividly remember that. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened, which is incredibly disappointing because my hope was that they would return to a place where the younger generation of heroes did have it under control and did not need to be bailed out by mom and dad. And yes, they're fighting alongside them, but at the end of the day, you know, it's they probably wouldn't have been able to do it by themselves, which is incredibly disappointing. The point of your story was to show how Legacy is able to withstand it, on its own. But I don't know. The story's been messy up until this point, and as I've said many times, it's just a collection of nice moments and a non-story, which is exactly what this issue was as well. It was really cool fight scenes, and then I guess a story. Pariah is gone, but I didn't really care, so I didn't really feel anything from that. And Slade being the big bad is like mildly interesting at best, but we all know he's just going to get put down in the next one and will die and then be brought back again. I don't know. It's like I feel nothing. It was the most issue I ever read, which is really not anything at all. So this one got a 6.5 out of 10 for me.
All right, fair
Okay.
enough.
Yeah, it's I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, it was bound to happen. I was kind of hoping that there would be a different way to go about that. They certainly had that Lord of the Rings moment, come riding in over the hills of Rohan.
Yeah,
A little
except
late
that
there,
is
Gandalf,
earned,
but
and this is like pathetic. This is
yeah,
so painfully cliche. Of course they're gonna show up now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the story, unfortunately. That's been this event. All right. Well, that is our books for the week. It was a hefty list, but I think we got through it okay. So before we get into our closing segment, we are going to look at our top three and favorite moment if you had one. Brandon, you want to kick us off?
Sure. At number 3, I had Batman Incorporated. Number 2, really really solid stuff here, and definitely looking forward to what the rest of the series has in store. At number 2, I had Wildcats number 1, which admittedly I did lower it to an 8, but I think personally I would give that an 8.5 or maybe a little higher. I did have a lot of fun with the issue, and excited to see the Cats back in action. But at number 1, I had New Golden Age number 1, just a really exciting way to kick off this new saga for the JSA, and as what I would say is one of the best teams in the DC universe. This feels like a good story for them to be in. My favorite moment, loath as I am to give this book my favorite moment, I do have to give it to Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths number 6, because as pathetically cliche as it was, it is a very cool looking image seeing the Green Lantern Corps and the rest of the Justice League charging down at the Dark Army. It just, I mean, objectively it looks cool, even if the context of the story is total ass.
I am now officially on the hunt for this as a print. I want this. I don't care that it doesn't have everybody in it. This double page splash of the Justice League returning is also my favorite moment. Um, and I will not rest until I have this framed and hanging right there on my wall. It will be right there. I don't care what I have to do to get this. It's happening. Um, so that's my favorite moment as well. It's too gorgeous to ignore, man. Number 3, I almost mirror Brandon. I gave number 3 to Batman Incorporated. Number 2, what a great issue. Number 2, I gave to New Golden Age number 1. An excellent setup, a little all over the place, but I do realize that that's necessary to set up everything that they've got going on to do it within 40 odd pages of a one shot. So I have to forgive that. And number 1, man, just a hell of a time. What a roller coaster. And I loved every fucking goofy minute of it. Wildcats number 1. Oh, just loved it. How about
Very
you?
Yeah.
Leader?
It's number 3. It was very similar to Brandon's there. At number 3, I had Batman versus Robin instead of Batman Incorporated. Very close, but I was just really invested in that whole double meaning with the title that I found. Number 2, I had Wildcats. Number 1, I had New Golden Age. Because I agree, Justice Society might be the best team in the DC universe. And favorite moments, as cool as that panel was in Dark Crisis, for me it was all of Grifter's stories. They're just so much fun. At least the aftermath,
Right.
like him talking to people and trying to convince them that they're all real. Which honestly, I don't know if this is actually a case from the original version of the character, but he's basically trying to grift them.
Oh, yeah, that's where his name comes from.
Okay. It makes sense. It makes sense. I like it.
Because he's the ultimate con man that just, It's like Domino from Marvel. It's like like he's her distant cousin. Like he nonstop bad luck, but he gets out of it. And
Yeah.
you know what? Just to differentiate from Brandon's favorite moment slightly, even though I love that double page splash so much, I'm going to go a little bit earlier in Dark Crisis #6 and say when Blue Beetle shows up and goes, "Let's fucking go!"
Yeah.
That was epic.
Yeah,
That was cool as hell.
that was
man.
cool. Okay, folks, that was our favorite part. Now it's time for your favorite part. It's
The biggest thinker.
Oh, that's nasty.
Yeah, man, and I've flushed it before, and then I flushed it again, and for some reason that some bitch keeps floating. Oh, that's bad. my biggest stinker is Wonder Woman #793.
Ooh. I think we're actually all going to have a different one this week.
That's potentially true. That's I'm eager to see.
As I can guarantee mine is different from yours, both of yours. All right, Brandon,
All right,
what did
Brandon,
you have?
what's yours? Rob
Mine-
wants to leave.
I know mine is definitely Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths #6. Just I mean, I'm glad you guys had fun, but this for me was easily the weakest one.
And yeah, this is actually a bit surprising for me as well. It's going to be surprising for the both of you, I think. My biggest stinker this week, it scored the lowest, and I had the biggest issue with it, was I Am Batman.
Oh wow, did not
Yeah,
see that
it's-
coming.
I'm just that critical of lanterns at this point.
Well, I mean,
I
that
have-
scored pretty low
Yeah.
for me. It just didn't make sense, man.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
didn't make sense.
it was so
There's
off.
Every once in a while,
so-
you have to be the pedantic, glavening nerd that has
Yeah.
to point out the inconsistencies, even if it is for the lanterns and everything. So I would be a hypocrite if I criticized you for that, because we've all been there. We've all done that. We've all had our
God
actually
knows-
moments.
Yeah, God knows we picked
Actually,
apart the fucking
actually-
Teen Titans.
Yes.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Rob?
I've gotten too good with my nerd voice to the point where I'm scared it's just gonna be my regular voice at one point or another, and I'm just gonna go around like, actually, if like, and I'm just like, oh god, it's gonna be my
man.
life one day.
If any of us ever own a comic shop, we need to put on that voice at least once a day for because just
I would love
that,
to own a
that
comic shop
lucky
one day.
random customer. We just put on that comic book guy voice and
Yeah.
just be
Oh god,
obnoxious.
yes.
I'm down to
Yeah,
do
I
the
would love
Valley.
to.
I'm down to do the male Valley Girl voice. Like,
Yeah.
actually, what you're looking at right here, this isn't
Oh,
the
God,
original
so like-
Wildcats #1. You're gonna have to go all the way back to Image, brah.
Yeah, that's in the back of the
Sound like
store in
Bill
one of the
S.
long boxes.
Preston.
Let's just go. Oh
There
my
you
God. Dude,
Dude.
whoa.
No, you don't want to read those. Those are gnarly, man.
Oh my god. You found an original copy of Just Like #1. Whoa. How much do you want for it? Dude. Oh my god, that'd be amazing. Okay, I have a new life goal now. Oh, goodness. Okay, so that is our show. Remember, you can help support us by going to buymeacoffee.com/NAR podcasts. Check us out on Twitter at Not a Robot Comics and subscribe to our Substack for bonus reviews, articles, and more. And as always, there's only one way we say goodbye around here. Until next time.
Be good to each other.
And don't be a robot. So, you guys, with JSA, Do you think all of these people are gonna just be brought back into the DC universe at large?
Oh, like the 13?
Yeah.
Seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So we're gonna
At
have
least
heroes
some.
like Quiz Kid and Ladybug.
Well, there's Stargirl, the Lost Children, or something like that is going to deal with a lot of those sidekicks, I think. Whereas characters like Judy Garrick, I think she's going to be in that Stargirl special, but I think we'll also branch into the larger universe, maybe with the Flash comics, because they've been hinting at that already.
Yeah, probably.
Golden Age Aquaman and Thaddeus Brown remain to be seen. I don't think Red Lantern's going to go any further than maybe Justice Society, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they're gonna work in Golden Age Aquaman and another Huntress into our main universe, because that's ultimately where this is all supposed to land, right?
Yeah. Well, the Huntress is, I mean, it's nothing new. That version, the Helena Wayne character, whether she was on Earth 2 or the Hyper Time versions, has always been, the daughter of Bruce and Selena, who eventually went on to join the JSA, and I don't think she was ever on All-Star Squadron, but yeah. Or not All-Star Squadron, Infinity Inc.
I know that the
JSA
character is
Junior.
not unusual, and I've always liked the idea of her. I'm trying to figure out how in the hell I'm trying to figure out how she is going to be worked into the DC universe at large. Are the JSA do they exist on a different universe, or are they on the main universe?
Yeah, I assume she's either coming from a further point in time and Hyper Time, or from Earth 2, which they still haven't established whether or not that's the New 52 Earth 2 or the post-Infinite Crisis Earth 2, which was basically the pre-Crisis Earth 2, which is all the original DC heroes, but, in the 40s, and then they just grew old. My guess is probably the latter, because Jeff Johns wrote Infinite Crisis, and he wants to bring everything back that he did. But I couldn't say. But my guess is this is Huntress from Earth 2, classic Earth 2, going back in time to try and prevent whatever disaster is going to happen to the JSA from happening.
So do you think that the JSA as a whole are on Earth 2?
No. I mean,
Or
there's
she's
JSA, because
traveling
what
back
they
and
did
traveling
after
through the multiverse.
Yeah, so, or yeah, probably traveling through the multiverse. Because what they did after Infinite Crisis was, and this is where shit gets muddled. So, after the original Crisis on Infinite Earths, as you know, the entire multiverse was condensed into one Earth, and that meant that they had to basically, connect the timelines between the JSA and the main Silver Age heroes, so they were now a part of our continuity. But when they brought back the 52 Earths in Infinite Crisis, they were like, oh shit, if we have Earth 2, but also the JSA on this other Earth, how does that make sense? So basically what they said is, there's a version of the JSA that exists on Earth 2 that is essentially the same as the one before Crisis on Infinite Earths, but there's also a version of JSA that exists on our Earth that was, fought during World War II and ended up in limbo and all that stuff. I imagine that's probably the same thing they're going to do, and they're just bringing that back, which is a relatively simple explanation when you're not, insane. But yeah, that would be my guess. So this is Helena Wayne from Earth 2 coming to our Earth, or maybe in Hyper Time, I don't know, coming to our Earth, trying to prevent some kind of disaster from happening to the JSA, would be my guess. It's either Earth 2 or it's Hyper Time, one of the two.
I mean, my only thing with that theory is that remains to be seen if the Earth 2 we had during the New 52 was still intact. And if those characters are the same,
that I have
then
no
that
idea.
Helena Wayne is different.
Yes, yeah. That's why I'm like, because it would probably make more sense for it to be Hyper Time if they're still keeping the New 52 Earth 2 intact. But honestly, I have no clue. The only reason I think it's Hyper Time is because they give us dates in the New Golden Age, and one of those dates, when they're checking in with Dr. Fate and Power Girl and the original Star Spangled Kid are there, the date given is like 1976. And the only way that would make sense is if it's, if it's either in hyper time in a different timeline that takes place in the past and eventually leads to the future, to our future, or if it is on Earth 2 and basically the same thing. But I don't think it could be our timeline because Power Girl presumably was not active in the 1970s, or at least not to my knowledge.
No,
Not in our.
I'm aware
It's
of.
it's getting very confusing. Suffice it to say, it's either from a different Earth or from an alternate timeline. Let's simplify.
Yeah,
And boy,
I mean, this
man,
is
she
quickly
sure does have a
already
bad
becoming a
attitude.
lot like the Legion of Three Worlds, which was confusing in itself.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yes.
Please don't go there.
But
Like,
I mean,
that's
I still understand that. I get it now, but it really doesn't make sense.
like it's the only Final Crisis trade I own, so I've read it a couple of times.
Mhm.
I'm still just
Yeah.
lost. I'm as
Yeah.
lost as the Legion.
Because
is
that's
the
like
Legion.
there are 3 different versions of the Legion that existed at that time on different Earths, which
But they were all like different ages as well,
I
if I
mean,
understand correctly. Which
yeah,
like
because
like 5 years apart.
well, because
so-
they were trying to make an explanation for how there are 3 different versions of the Legion in DC's publishing history because they kept rebooting the Legion every time they wanted to bring it into the fold, which is that's already a whole other can of worms. But then Jeff Johns was like, I don't like that. That's dumb. I like the Legion that I read when I was a kid, the one that Paul Levitz did. So I'm going to bring that
Screw
one
all
back.
your Legions.
But then you have all these stories. Yeah, you have all these stories where various members have already met different versions of the Legion of Superheroes. So it's just like, fuck it. They're all from 3 different Earths. But I don't even know if that's still intact because now there's a 4th version of the Legion, the one that Bendis did. So who even knows?
Oh, can we pretend for sanity's sake that never happened?
yeah,
I'm fine
all
with
for
that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yes. Let's see if we can get the rest of the universe to agree to that. Anybody out there in the universe have any problem with just negating Bendis's run with the Legion of Superheroes? Nope. Okay, universally
I'm
passed.
perfectly fine with that.